Good afternoon, my name is Camden and welcome back to my channel. The video you're about to watch is a video that I filmed a few weeks ago when my best friend Aubrey and I went on a camping trip in Vermont. The format of this one is going to be a little bit of an experiment as I'm trying to figure out the best way to compile all of this footage together in a way that makes sense, but I hope you will all continue to watch and I hope you will enjoy nonetheless. We decided to camp out in Branbury State Park, which is in Salisbury, Vermont. The ride up is about 2.5 hours from where we both live in southern New Hampshire. The views of the mountain on the way up were absolutely gorgeous, and I'm not gonna lie, they were one of my favorite parts of the entire trip. We arrived around noon and we set up our campsite in the 80-degree heat. As soon as everything was set up, we headed straight down to the beach to swim and to read our books. I love nothing more than a good theme, so I chose a survival story to read on this trip. This was a book that has been living on my shelves for the past few years, and it's called I Am Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall. After swimming, we headed back to the campsite and pretty much spent the rest of the afternoon hanging out and reading some more. A storm rolled in the early evening and we had to retreat to our tent for about an hour. That little rain shower really took the edge off the heat though, and the weather in the evening was fortunately a lot cooler because I don't know how we would have slept at night if it was still 80 degrees. You're looking worried. Aubrey, do you want to tell me about your book?
Yeah, I'm reading All of Our Hidden Gifts. It's a book by Coraline O'Donoghue.
That's Caroline.
Caroline
Coraline.
O'Donoghue.
Mm-hmm.
It is about Maeve Chambers, who is like in a private school, and she starts dabbling in tarot cards. But then all of a sudden, she makes her best friend go missing, and you have to figure out what's going on.
It's fine.
And there's a lot of witchy magic stuff in it, and it's really fun. It's really interesting. It's super, super Irish.
And also queer.
A little bit queer. It's pretty queer. I feel like there is a heavy underlying tone of like queer politics and queer like things.
Yeah, that's true, because they kind of talk about like there's a scene in a gay club and
like especially it's just very like,
so a perfect read for Pride Month then.
Yes, perfect read for Pride Month. Perfect time to finish it. I will not mention how many months I've spent on it.
It was supposed to be a joint read though, and I have many moons finished waiting for you to give your final thoughts.
I'm a slow reader, but I'm almost to the end. I think I'm on like 32 or 35 or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
You're really close to the end, and I'm like pretty impressed.
Upset.
I'm pretty impressed that you like committed this long.
Oh yeah. Well, I like it. I did like it. I need time to remember and be like, oh yeah, I should
get back into it, yeah.
Because otherwise I'm just kind of like sitting on my computer or what have you.
Yeah. And I am reading I Am Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall, which this author's name sounds super familiar, and I want to look up what else she wrote, because I'm like absolutely 100% certain I've read another book of hers, or at least heard of one. However, we have no network access at all. No data, so there's no way for me to look up on Goodreads what else she's written. But this one is like a survival story, and we're basically following two perspectives from the same character named Jess, and it's her going up after she's like in a tragic car accident where her mother dies, and she's going to stay with her father, who lives in like the Canadian wilderness, and he's like a mountain man, and so she's like going to live with him now. She doesn't know him, they don't have a relationship, so she's like kind of navigating like grief and also getting to know her father figure that she's never really met or interacted with her whole life. And then the other perspective is her several weeks or months later, after her father's cabin burned down and he was murdered, and she's alone in the wilderness trying to survive.
Ooh.
And also like seeking revenge.
That's awesome.
Yes. So it's very interesting so far. I'm not that far into it. I'd say I'm like, what page is that? I'm 40 pages in, so not very far at all, but I like the dual perspective. It has like a heavy sense of like dread because you know what's coming, but it's interesting, and Jess is very, like, she's already been through shit, so you kind of have like respect for her going in, knowing that she like had to learn how to walk again after the car accident with her mother and stuff, so I have confidence that she'll survive. But anyway, that is both of our reading updates.
Awesome.
Aubrey was in charge of making dinner the first night, and she made us a meal of Italian sausage grilled over a baguette, some corn on the cob, and some roasted asparagus, which was delicious. Day 2 was really cold. I think it got up to a high of like 60 degrees. Aubrey was nice enough to make me coffee in the morning, which actually turned out to be a huge operation, as you will see in the following clips. All right, I'm ready for you.
Gonna make some coffee.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kind soul.
You were really cold. I was like, just make some coffee.
Oh really? Did you say that?
Yeah, I did.
Is that it? Story one?
Yeah, that's how I remember it. At least.
It is freezing here.
It is. I'm still hot even through my sweater. There's already water in it.
Careful. I'm so excited.
That's coffee.
Can't wait.
Which is weird because I put water in there.
That was like such a dad joke.
I'm guessing you want extra cream to for the espresso.
Yes.
Color?
Oh, more than that.
One little bit more?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Good.
You'll probably want some on the other day, so.
You can have some. We can always get more. Yes, I am. Look at him go. He's so cute. Aubrey, look. Oh. It's fine.
Oh, there he is.
Where'd he come? Hello. We spent most of day 2 just sitting by the fire, chilling in the hammock, hanging out, napping, and of course, reading. Hello, I am back with another reading update for I Am Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall. I am about 210 pages into this book right now, which means I only have another 100 pages or so to go. So I'm moving through it pretty quickly. Obviously, that's probably because I'm camping and there's not a lot else to do. And time moves much slower when you're camping than when you're living everyday life. I've only ever read a few survival novels in the past, but I've really enjoyed all of them, so maybe this is a new subgenre that I should spend some time exploring. Like I mentioned before, we're following a main character named Jess in this book, and she is already disabled from a fatal car accident that killed her mother. She ends up flying out into the Canadian wilderness to live with her father, and she only is able to stay with him and get to know him for a few weeks before he ends up being murdered by some guys who had it out for him for reasons that we're kind of unpacking throughout the course of this book. Because Jess already has a lot of walking disabilities, it adds a whole other layer of complexity and difficulty for her to survive the wilderness. And also, her father lives way too far from civilization for getting back to civilization to ever be a consideration in her survival plan. So basically, she's just trying to survive for as long as she can and hope that maybe someday someone comes along who can bring her back to civilization. I would say that the strengths of this book are having Jess as a main character. I think she's very determined. She's definitely someone to root for. And she also has a dog, which I love. His name is Bo. And the book's other biggest strength is like the ups and downs. It feels like 3 steps forward and then 2 steps back. She ends up collecting a lot of things that can be helpful in her survival, and then they end up getting destroyed. Ends up catching fish, and then a wild animal steals it, and things like that, where you can feel the visceral frustration through the page from Jess, and you feel it yourself because of just how dire her situation is and how much every single thing that she is able to come across is so hard earned. It feels utterly devastating when she loses any of those items or they're destroyed or stolen. So I feel like this book is doing a good job of making me empathetic towards Jess and feeling all of her emotions as though they are my own. Other than that, there's not that much to say about this novel. It's pretty straightforward survival novel. What you see is what you get, but I really am enjoying it, and hopefully I'll have finished it by the end of the day. As far as camping updates, it rained last night for about an hour, and then the rain stopped, and today is a lot more cool than it was yesterday. Yesterday was like in the 80s. Today it's like in the 60s. So we're just chilling, and we're about to head into town to maybe look for a cafe or somewhere to go get some souvenirs or something just for fun, just to get away from the campsite for a little while and see some different scenery, and then we'll be back. So I'll check in with you guys later. After that, we headed back to our campsite for dinner, s'mores, and possibly the worst night of sleep that either of us had ever had in our lives. I'm not even kidding. It was so freaking cold that second night that even with all of the extra blankets we brought, we weren't able to sleep a wink. I don't think Aubrey got any sleep at all, and I think I got maybe 1 hour of sleep between all of the different naps that I took throughout the night. By the time morning came, neither of us were in the mood to film or talk or hang out or anything. So we basically broke down camp in record time as soon as we were able to be noisy and headed out at 7:30 in the morning. As far as final reading updates go, I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5. The ending was pretty much exactly what I was expecting out of a book like this. This is definitely not a thriller. It is just a straight shooting survival story. There are no real plot twists. What you see is what you get for the most part. But I did really enjoy Jess's story, and I was definitely rooting for her from beginning to end. Her survival throughout this book definitely feels hard won, and I really appreciated the author not smoothing her path too much in that regard. She definitely has some near-death experiences, some setbacks, some disappointments throughout this book, but she also experiences some wins, some strokes of good luck. So I felt like it was a good balance. I was finally able to figure out why I recognize this author's name. Kate Alice Marshall also wrote Rules for Vanishing and What Lies in the Woods, which are 2 books that I am looking forward to reading even more now. All of that being said, I definitely feel like I can recommend this book to anyone who enjoys a good survival story, and I would especially recommend it if you're going camping. So I feel like what better setting to get into the mindset of survival than when you're shivering awake at 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of Vermont wilderness. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I know it's a bit of a different format, so I don't know if I'll do a video like this again, but I certainly had fun filming it. And thank you so much to my best friend Aubrey for allowing me to bring my camera and for doing the majority of the hard work. If you like this video, please like it, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you all with a new video next week. Goodbye.